Good day and welcome to another Africa iShare podcast. Tonight I'm joined by Chris, comes by once in a while. Chris, you can say hi and then I'll introduce the topic for discussion.
My name is Chris Mwabe. I'm an advocate and I'm happy to be here.
Okay, and for the listeners, he's an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. He's a lawyer, so he's an advocate. Yeah,
can bring me the businesses. Yeah.
Okay, I'm Christine. I'm an advocate as well, but I'm also many other things. So tonight, we're speaking about reactions of different countries on the restrictions to entry because of the COVID shenanigans. So different countries are reacting differently when it comes to who can enter into their country, what are the requirements that someone needs to comply with, what happens if you don't comply with them, and we will focus a bit on how that has affected African countries, and also highlight a few cases that have specifically come out in the press about this issue. Chris, I'll let you have a go at it first.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. I think for me, I'd categorize the various countries' reactions into maybe three categories. So there are those ones who have reacted. First of all, it's important to understand the fact that no one has ever really experienced such a, for lack of a better term, such a phenomena as COVID. So the various reactions are largely informed by luck, but that may be maybe I'd categorize the reactions maybe into three. Those ones have done really well. Probably I'll see the likes of New Zealand. Of course, there are many factors involved, such as population and the control, the grip that the governments have over the people. So you'd find countries like maybe China that would come in. Norway, maybe Scotland have really tried, and Nicola. And then you'd go to maybe tier 2 and you'd find believe it or not, Kenya have really tried. I can't really think of others, but yeah, the other ones were moderately tried, and then the other ones were really poor at it for one reason or another. You'd find maybe our neighbors around the corner here, Tanzania, the government didn't really understand what was going on. You'd find maybe some countries, just because of poverty, they can't really help it, overpopulation. So maybe I'd categorize them into three. But also, as you dig also deeper, you'd find various institutions that will have various reactions towards COVID. And maybe you'd find now, maybe in this discussion, we'd largely be discussing maybe the transport sectors, that being the airlines. So the Kenyan situation between Kenya and Dubai. You'd find we're discussing maybe the sports federations, because sports has really been affected. Maybe we might discuss the English FA, we might discuss the Australian Tennis Federation, that's the recent case, Novak Djokovic. So various countries, informed by various factors and largely luck, have had different reactions, and maybe we can categorize them into those sections. And maybe our discussion now can move forward from there. So I don't know what you think about that.
I think also, in my view, that influences the reactions of countries is the clout that you have. So, whether it's international trade, international relations, decisions to go to war and such things, these things are influenced by the clout you have in the international arena. So, for instance, if you're China, you can close your borders and say no one will come into the country. And in our last discussion on China news towards the end of 2021, by then, when we were doing the recording in December, China was still not allowing just anyone to get into China. But at the same time, Chinese industries, like where there was construction going on, like for roads under the Belt and Road Initiative, like roads being constructed, let's say in Kenya, steel and other things could be imported from China and be brought here. You know, what essentially that means is that Chinese companies are still, operating and being able to export their products out here to the rest of the world. But you, as a person who wants to go buy goods in China, you just can't go to China. Again, when I say cloud, one of the European countries can decide, you know what, even if you're like a sports star will not let you into the country. And Chris, you can speak much about that for the tennis player. But try that as an African country and decide, you know what, we have decided that this is not going to happen to even this person who is not even a politician. They are a celebrity somewhere. You know, there will be accusations of like, why are you being intolerant to us? What's happening, you know? And I think it's influenced by someone who feels like, you know, we play by our own rules, and the rules you set, everyone else should comply with. And you as a country, you have no room to make your own rules. I mean, of course, Kenya, I think Kenya in many ways decides to go do its own thing. Like now, you'll not be allowed into the country if you're not vaccinated, which, you know, like could be infuriating to other people because, again, you will ask, why would you do that even when your population, what's the percentage of vaccination? The entire vaccination thing is it's just a whole topic for discussion. But Chris, those are my opening remarks. You could point out like different reactions based on like sports news and these other things.
Yeah, thank you. I think picking up from where you've left, I think we can have a classic case of maybe the big Omicron variant, variant rather. And what we see is this: whether we like it or not, power play comes in, economics come in, and things like that. So the superior countries economically, we'd find other variants have originated or have been. So the first one they say came from China, Wuhan. Then there was one which was rapidly spreading and had first cases of being found in the likes of UK and other countries like that. And you'd find, fine, they were being given travel advisories. Some countries were actually banning flights from that side, but it was not as harsh as when the first COVID Omicron variant positive person was found in South Africa, and it was so harsh that every flight was banned from coming from South Africa to those other countries. And it's the funny thing is that actually this person had come in with this variant from outside to South Africa, but you see the reaction that it was given to, just because it's an African country, I believe, was a bit more harsh than, because this thing had originated from those other superpowers, for lack of a better term. But no one really, measures were being taken, but it wasn't in these strict and harsh measures, if I may say. And that just informs I don't know if it's racism. Part of me wants to dissociate myself from the thinking that it's racism and just think about it from an economic point of view, because largely what informs such harsh measures is that you are in no position to defend yourself in terms of speaking power, whatever that may be, maybe World Health Organization or certain bodies like that. And two, for lack of a better term, you're of little to no value to those countries in terms of economics. They view you from the bottom tier. That's just my opinion, because it doesn't make sense, or somebody would come with this disease from outside. And so we are being vigilant and reporting it to the relevant bodies, and then strict and harsh measures are being put to us, while we see these places of origin, they're having measures, but they're flexi, they're agreeable to them. It doesn't make sense. Now that is from a government perspective, from a country perspective. If we go to now these other bodies' perspective, now we'll pick the most recent one for the tennis, the Serbian tennis star. Fine, they dealt with it in a legal manner. It went through its court cases, and finally, he was deported from the country. He was not allowed to participate in the tennis tournament. I'm agreeable to that. The rule of law took place, and also he's an anti-vaxxer. It's his right, but it's not an unlimited right. Yeah? So because the authorities have to balance between the health and well-being of a majority as opposed to one person. You have your right. You can refuse to be vaccinated, but you can't also now risk the lives of other people. Fine, I agree with that. But the point I'm trying to look at is somebody somewhere within the Australian government or within the Australian immigration services had actually issued this person with a visa based on various reasons. So he was not in the country illegally. So I think it's very alarming and worrying that now once this guy is in the country, that's when you guys are realizing or probably you want to make a statement with this person. That's why now I don't agree with certain decisions like this. Initially, you knew he was an anti-vaxxer. He's not any Tom, Dick, and Harry. He's a very famous person. You knew his sentiments about vaccination. You knew he was coming to play this tournament. Why don't you just deny him the visa at the point of when he's applying for it? Why do you have to wait to make a statement with him when now he's already in the country, the tournament is ongoing, you're putting him through quarantine and all this? So, as much as I'd want to, part of me agrees with the decision to not allow him to participate, but we should also be humane and we should also be logical and thoughtful about our reactions. In terms of, now I say our reactions, I mean our governments, our various authorities to this COVID menace. Because you might be, even the South African situation, the countries, the governments might be looking at the well-being of their various societies and the various people and governments and populations. But how you go about it really, because no country, no authority exists in a vacuum or in an island situation. So how they go about it also should be in a thoughtful, logical, and in a manner likely to show that justice is not only being done, but we can also see that it is being done. Because I'm sure the American or the UK governments, when they're banning flights in South Africa, they're thinking about their people. But the way they went about it came off as if we as Africans or the South Africans are sons of a lesser God. Because these stringent measures are not being put in place in other countries in such a harsh manner. People are being given the benefit of doubt. Research was being carried out, or data was actually being used to arrive at these decisions. But for this one, it was just they reported and then they were shut down. Now moving back home, the Kenyan situation, there were allegations that maybe a whole flight or so had forged their COVID vaccine certificates heading to Dubai. And once they got there, they all tested, I think, positive. And there was a dispute between Kenya and Dubai that ended up, we also banned flights from Dubai. They banned flights from Kenya. It was a mess. Knowing Kenyans, fine, it might be the case, but also empirical data should inform certain decisions and certain facts should be laid on the table. Because it could also be a case of where somebody tested negative in Kenya and on transit or maybe they're in Dubai, they contracted COVID. So it's just, I think, a case of let us see fairness in the various bodies and the various governments reacting to this COVID menace. Because now Kenya reacted based on all empirical data because they felt like the guys from Dubai they were not given data to show that actually, you cannot say just because somebody has tested positive on that other side that he was traveling on a fake COVID certificate. Because no one knows when they can get this COVID disease. So there should be a balance so that people don't feel that the other factors being considered other than the empirical data on the table. So, if I'm a South African, a black South African, I tend to think race is being played, the card of race. And us as Africans, whether we like it or not, the Western world fully expected us to bear the brunt. The naysayers and the articles being written, we were being prepared for Armageddon. We were going to die in droves, and it didn't happen. So once now we are acting from that perspective, people, governments, and authorities have to be careful moving forward, not to fund those fires. They should make logical decisions based on data, based on thoughtful decisions. Yeah.
Yeah, Chris, those are very good observations. Personally, I think I don't think data or logic is a key driver for decisions being made about COVID. Like when you say the fact that you can look at it and see someone can contract this virus in transit or something, and therefore, like take that into account when you're making a decision. Something you think is an obvious thing that should be considered is not. And also when you think about like the South Africa situation, and we had a discussion a while back where there was actually a South African business person was giving the experience and saying what happened when like the flights were banned from going to the US. People are trying to return to like the business world where Like he was saying, he was going to have a meeting, which now it was just cancelled, and that's it. And then also the other thing they were saying is that South Africa wasn't saying that we are now in the red zone and this new variant is going to wipe out the world. What had happened is that they had discovered there was a new variant. They were saying, in fact, we are looking through it. We are doing our research. It's our research that has found this out. And, like with the vaccine, this is the response. I mean, someone is giving you data. And then the response is as if, there's this thing coming from Africa, a dark variant that's going to come. And now what's going to happen is that it's going to wipe the rest of the world out. I mean, I'm not saying that's what was said, but that's what the reaction felt like. And especially considering that if there was anything to have also been considered logically is that for whatever reason, this situation hasn't gotten really out of hand in Africa. That this variant, maybe it's not as bad because you see, the disease hasn't been as bad in Africa. I mean, logically, you'd think that's a consideration. But the reaction, again, I don't think was commensurate to what was reported. But also, I think as a comment on the reactions of this type, I also tend to think it might be more economic than maybe just racist. It's possibly because you have no clout, as African countries. But on this discussion, I think because it's the COVID situation where no one really quite knows all the answers, I think being patient and taking into account what is the situation like from a balanced mind, then I think that might be a better solution. Chris, I don't know what any other comments you have on the topic.
I think my closing remarks would be, in as much as we want to give it time, because no one really knows, no one has dealt with such a menace before, unless you're as old as Methuselah, you existed during the smallpox era and such kind of things. But even with the limited information that we have, I think the various authorities, and mostly the Western world, because let's face it, they're in a position of power in terms of economics, in terms of health, research, everything, mostly. They should, I would want to believe that they're fair, but they should show that fairness to us in their decision making. Because we might, from where we sit, as an African, from where I sit, it seems as if other factors are being considered as opposed to empirical data. So is it my skin color? Is it my economic situation? Because if you without any data, you say a majority of Africans are likely to die, and we don't die. Now, a vaccine comes, and we're the last to get it. And it's an oxymoron, because if you look at population-wise in terms of continents, Africa has a large number of people, and we don't get this vaccine. Now we are being good members of this world, and we report variants that are coming up, and we actually want to share our data with people, and we're being castigated for that. So as an African, what am I supposed to feel? What am I supposed to think? So if the other factors being considered, let us be told, so that we don't be in a situation whereby we feel as Africans that it's the color of our skin or our economic situation that is being considered as opposed to empirical data. Yeah.
Okay, and Chris, that reminds me, I haven't confirmed how correct this is, but last week there was this posting by Kenyans on Twitter that right now the interviews for US visas have been suspended until 2023. So the visa to the US, the interviews for the visas and the appointments are not being booked until 2023. And while this is happening, athletes from the US are in Kenya training. So you see, there is no reciprocity. Here, athletes from the US are here training for, I don't know, a marathon or something, and they come in, train, and leave. Well, for a Kenyan who wants to go on a business trip, or for whatever reason, they could also want to go on vacation or go train there, or whatever reason they want to go there, you're told that the earliest appointment that we can book for you will be in 2023. I mean, that's just, it's what you're saying. And what is the basis of this consideration? If your population can come here and you think it's safe for them to come to Kenya and train, and they'll go back and they'll be okay, and the variant or whatever COVID situation will not be transferred through them, how is it then that when a Kenyan wants to travel there, they have to wait until 2023 for the appointment because there are restrictions? I mean, it's just that leaves a lot of questions to mind. And I think that's what you're saying.
So from where we sit from our desk as Africans, what are we supposed to think if it's not a matter of race, it's not a matter of our economic situation? Because clearly we've proved that we're the least affected in terms of this COVID. Maybe by the grace of God, we don't know. But we are being denied entry into other countries. So what could really be informing this? If the other factors being considered, let us be told of these other factors. But from where we sit, we have no other alternative but to think other factors other than empirical data and health reasons are being considered.
Yeah, and that's particularly the case when you're letting you have no travel advisory for your athletes who want to come train here. You're letting them come train, but then in the same breath, not allow Kenyans to go there when training here, they're interacting with Kenyans. I mean, it's just something. But for tonight, I think we will end it here. It will be great to hear what your thoughts are on this topic. Quite controversial, I think, or it could be. But your thoughts are welcome. And from Chris and I, for tonight, it's goodbye.